asking them questions, about 4 questions, 3 to the man, 1 to the woman, about why they were acting and behaving the way they were, because they were in denial and not taking any ownership. And the minute things started happening, they went and started covering up with fig leaves. And that's what we do when we sin and we're being deceitful and we're trying to hide it and we don't want to get caught or we don't want to deal with it. We put on fig leaves, or we call them defense mechanisms, to cover up, denial, rationalize, project, minimize, blame, and shuck and jive. And we know that God said that wasn't going to be okay, so he got down there and confronted them to force them to take off their fig leaves. That's what God was doing. He said, why are you hiding? Where are you at? God didn't need to know where they at. They needed to know where they were at. And so we see the role that God is a confrontational God, and He expects us to be confrontational, and He confronts us to make us get honest and get real, to take a look at our stuff. And we too need to be willing to confront other people when they're trying to hide behind their stuff and cover it up. And that's really what ministry is all about, especially recovery ministry. We have sociograms to help do that. To help people look at what's really going on. We got that question out there, what's really going on? And that's a great question to always be asking, what's really going on with me? Why am I covering up? Why am I trying to hide? Why am I not just taking ownership and saying it's my bad? So tonight we're going to talk about some more questions. And we're going to see the confrontation of God back in action again. So we had the first real confrontation, and this is kind of the second one. It says, now the man, meaning Adam, had relations with his wife Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain, and she said, I have gotten a man-child, a little man-God, man-child, with the help of the Lord. I've gained a man. Verse 2, it says, again, she gave birth, got pregnant again. She's going right at it, ain't she? And gave birth to his brother named Abel. Now, Abel was a keeper of flocks, basically a shepherd. But Cain was a tiller of the ground. Basically, he was a farmer. So it came about, over the course of time, that Cain brought an offering to the Lord of the fruit of the ground. And Abel, on his part, he also brought the firstling of his flock, which was the firstborn of his sheep and their fat portions. And it says, and the Lord had regard for Abel and for his offering. But for Cain and for his offering, he had no regard. Now, we really don't know a lot of what's going on here. Some commentators have attempted to make a stab at it. Some believe that the word no regard means no respect. There was no honor in it. And God, didn't observe it or recognize it or take notice of it, or there was no favorable look upon Cain's offering, but there was regard. He did take notice of Abel's offering, and it found favor with God. Now, we don't know exactly why. Some believe that the actual regard means to think highly of something. Some think that Cain's offering was not, the offering that he gave was probably something of the ground, a bushel of corn or a bag of potatoes or whatever, but in God's opinion, there was no sacrifice in it. It was just kind of flippant. It was just a gift that he just threw something out there as an offering to the Lord, and the Lord knew his heart. I mean, that's, obviously whatever was going on, God knew something, and God's, there was probably some kind of flippant, attitude in it, where he just kind of threw something together and threw it out there and said, here's your Christmas card, here's a little something, and there was no sacrifice in it, but But Abel's gift came from the heart. He gave the firstborn of his flock, the best of his flock. So it cost him a lot. It was sacrifice, and God was impressed. And he took regard for it. But for Cain, his offering had no regard, and Cain became very angry. The word means excessively angry or indignant. I mean, he wasn't just a little upset. He was downright having a meltdown here. And his countenance fell. He became sad or depressed. And the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry, and why has your countenance fallen? Why are you sad? Why are you so upset?" The Amplified says, "Why are you angry, and why do you look so sad and depressed, and why are you sitting there all dejected? Why are you sitting there over there in self-pity? Why are you throwing your little temper tantrum? Poor little me, and what's with this childlike attitude that you're having here?" He says, "If you do well, will not your countenance be lifted up? But if you do not go well, then sin is crouching at the door, and its desire is for you, and it's going to master you." So God basically is confronting Cain about a rotten, stinking attitude. How many have ever had a rotten, stinking attitude before? And like I said, we don't know all what went in, but it was what it was. God made a decision, and God's the potter, we're the clay, He's the chief, and we got little say in that. But for whatever reason, God picked up on Cain's lack of gratitude and the way he gave that, and God showed he showed contempt towards him. He looked down on him, and he had no regard for it. God didn't apologize and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings back there. Bring you that gift, that was a good one." And God's not codependent. He's not feeding into this self-pity. He's not feeding into this little thing. And God's no dummy. He's not going to get hooked here. He basically says, it was what it was. You had an attitude, there's no regard for it, but it is what it is, so learn from it. This thing can go way, way good. You can see what you did. You can take ownership of what you did and how you did it, and you can turn around, learn from it, and don't make mistakes, and everything's going to be just fine. Or, if you don't deal with that rotten, stinking attitude, and you keep letting it escalate, it's going to take you to a place where you're going to get stuck in a rut, and it's not going to go well for you. As a matter of fact, the devil's knocking at your door. He's just waiting for you to not take any ownership of this attitude. He's just waiting for you to keep going like you are, and he's waiting to eat you up. And his goal is to not just eat you up, but it's to take you out and to master you, to dictate to you, control you. That means he's not just going to want to cause a little relapse. He's wanting to take you into full-fledged relapse. The Bible talked about the foundations of the man that built his house on the sand, and when the storms and the rain came, it said he had a fall, but it says how great was his fall. It was a massive kind of fall. So basically, the Lord realizes. The way the Lord picks up on it is, whatever happened, this deal is over with, and he sees Cain over there with his countenance falling. He's basically, God recognizes his countenance was falling. God saw it on his face. He's sitting over there like this, and his lips probably turned over and crossing his hands, and then all of a sudden he starts seeing this anger, this excessive anger. He sees the face turning red. He sees the lip quivering, and he's going, "Man, what's going on with you?" Okay? And so he asks him, "Why are you so angry? Why are you so upset? Why are you so depressed?" God didn't need to know. God knew exactly why he was that way. But the reason God asked the question is he was confronting him. He was trying to get him to quit covering up and throwing a temper tantrum and hiding behind his attitude. Basically, Cain's not getting his way. He's in his feelings. He's getting angry. He's getting upset. And basically what he's doing is he's mad at God. That's who he's really mad at. So he thinks, I'll just show God. I'll just come over here and do my little temper tantrum. And the Lord says, no, we're going to have a little talk here. Okay, this thing, I'm not going to let you just be that way. I'm a good father. You're my son. I care about you. I love you. So, we're going to confront. We're going to have a man-to-man, face-to-face collision of opinions here. We're going to talk about this thing. Let's get to the root of this. God loves him. He cares about him. He's trying to minister to him. And, he realizes he's got a stinking attitude, but he takes the time to get, from his schedule, and he comes alongside Cain, and he asks him some serious questions. He said, look, I know you're having a bad day. I'm sorry you got your feelings hurt or whatever, but it is what it is. I'm God, and if you just get over this and you take ownership of this thing, quit acting like a little kid, then this thing can go way good, or you're on the verge of something serious here, and it's going to go way bad. So you can sit there and get bitter, or you can get better. You can go ahead and be a victim, poor little me, or you can be a victor. You can learn from this cowboy up and realize it and own it, but there was no ownership. We don't see any response right here to the questions. So how many know we can learn a lot from people's countenances if you care? I tell my leadership that when we're circling up, I'm going to wrap myself out here with the guys a little bit, but when we're circling up for dinner and everybody's been out doing their thing and everybody's home, everybody's standing at the table, and we're going around and asking everybody, how was your day? Okay, well, you're asking how their day. What you need to be doing is you need to go around and do a facial check on every person. If you see one over here kind of nodding off and and he keeps nodding off and all that, and it's dinner time, you should be hungry, you see him nodding off, there could be a problem there. Or if you see a guy over there that's twiddling his thumbs or looking around, or you can learn a lot by looking at their facial. This is what happened to Cain. His facial, the countenance on his face, it was distorted. It wasn't right. God knew something was wrong. So we can learn a lot. Matter of fact, Proverbs 23 says, know well the condition of your flocks, pay attention to your herds. Saul's not talking about going up and doing a spot check with your sheep. You're not talking about going up to your sheep, how you feeling today? Let me look and see what your face is like. Let me see what your face is like. Solomon's saying, look, as leaders, as parents to children, as a husband to a wife, or a man to his, a man can just look at his wife and know she ain't happy with him. They don't hold their cards tight at all, do the guys? But I tell my leadership, you can, Solomon says, pay attention to your people. When you love them and you care about them, pay attention to your herds, the people that are put in your care. Know the condition of your herds. Pay attention to that. It'll rat itself out. The word condition actually means to know the face. And actually the Hebrew word means to know the face of all your sheep. Or the faces, the many different masks that we wear. So what it says right there, as a shepherd, you can keep a good eye on your people that are in your care just by learning to get to know their face on a regular basis. We've got a men's accountability group over here that we talk about being our brother's keeper. And we say the importance of going to those rooms, that every single week you get to see the faces of the same people you've been there. And over a period of time, someone comes in and they're not struggling, they're not doing good. There's a good chance if you'll just look at their facial body language and their face, it will rat them out and you can know there's a problem. If you care about them, that's when you jump in proactively. Don't say, oh boy, he didn't look like he was having a good night. He looked like he was having a bad attitude, and you're telling everybody else about it. Well, get on the phone and text them and call them and say, how you doing, brother? You looked a little down tonight. I'm worried about you. I'm concerned. I care about you. What's going on there? I don't want to see you get in trouble. We try to be proactive and catch it before it happens. That's what that whole meeting on Monday night's about. We don't even preach. We just get to know each other's personalities, hear them talk, so that when something's not going, we can recognize it, call it proactively, so that it doesn't escalate into a full-fledged relapse. That's the basis of what we do. So like I say, God asks them two questions. Why are you angry, and why has your countenance fallen? So I've shown a little thing here where we've talked about this before. We're going to talk about it in the battlefield of the mind coming up. And it starts with a thought. Then an attitude. Behavior. Habit. And a consequence. Or a result. I mean, we're free to choose anything we want. We got free will, don't we? But how many know we're not free from the consequences?
Right.
I could jump off a roof and break my leg, and everyone, God forgives me, but I still got a broken leg, don't I? We need to realize that. There's consequences for attitudes. And so here, whatever happened in this thing that was going on there, basically what happened is he started thinking about it. Cain started thinking about what went down. He sees God getting all loving on his brother and disregarding him and making a big deal. Maybe he's getting jealous. So these arrows are flying into his head. And it probably is no big deal, but the more he thinks about it, it's more like a poisonous arrow that lodges in his head, in his mind, that poisons. Next thing you know, as that thought, he doesn't pull that arrow out, he doesn't take that thought captive. That poison goes down, and the next thing he's gnawing on this thing. He's going over it, he's replaying the tapes, and so now what's happening here is he's thought about it. He didn't bring those thoughts captive. So now we got a situation where the attitude is he's offended. And so God doesn't want this thing to go next to a behavior of what we do, holding resentment. Because if he obviously hadn't dealt with his thought life, and now he's got an attitude going on, okay? Now he's offended. So God confronts him right here. He said, look, stop right now. Stop right now. Hold. Stop right now. There's temper tension, this thing is on, you're just being a spoiled brat, there's no value in it. Stop right now, repent, you can turn this thing around, it can go way, way good. You can learn from it and everything's fine. You can wake up tomorrow, you can be smiling, your countenance will be back up. Go hang out with your brother, do things. And so he said, stop right now, this thing can go way good. Or you can turn and go back this way, it can go way good. Or if you don't deal with it, this thing's going to go way bad. You're going to start holding resentment towards me. See, what's really going on here is he's mad at God. He didn't get his way. He didn't get his Scooby snacks, did he? And so now the habit is going to develop. He's going to be unforgiveness. If that doesn't deal with what's going to happen is we're going to turn into a bitter root spirit, which is a stronghold. Hebrews says, see to it that a root of bitterness doesn't take hold into your spirit and it come up out and affect many and defile and corrupt and contaminate others. That's what that's saying right there. Have you ever seen a bitter person? Man, it's just like they're throwing up on everybody. It's like, get away from me, And so God confronts them. It says, you've got a chance, right now, you can turn this thing around and go one of two ways. Now we go to Genesis 4:8. And Cain, after this confrontation, we don't know exactly what happened. Obviously, Cain didn't pay much time, respect for it or appreciate it or whatever. So here he goes to his brother, and he went and told his brother Abel. And it says, and when it came about, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and he killed him. One version says that Cain went and talked to his brother, and then he says, let us go out to the field, and there in the field Cain rose up and killed him. So what it sounds like is he went to his brother and started sharing with him about the confrontation that him and God had. I mean, unforgiveness loves to nurse. Then it likes to rehearse. And then it likes to recruit, don't it? Yeah. Oh, poor little me, they hurt my feelings. God don't love me, nobody. It likes to nurse on that. We like to feel that unforgiveness. Sometimes we don't forgive because we like the way we feel. It allows us to be a victim. Everybody else is mean and I'm okay. Then we like to rehearse it. We like to go over it and over and over again. And then we like to go tell other people about it to recruit them to join our way of thinking against God. How many know that's what he's doing right there is not going to work? We call it an end around. So apparently Abel doesn't buy into it, doesn't feed into it. I'm just kind of thinking through what probably happened, and for whatever reason it made Cain mad, so he lures him out into an isolated field and area, and he takes him out. Murders him. So now, this thing didn't end up going way good. It started going way bad, didn't it? Okay? So here he gets offended. He starts recruiting. He starts holding resentment, nursing and rehearsing and recruiting. And next thing you know, he's got unforgiveness. And the way he deals with his anger and resentment towards God, he starts taking it out on others. Isn't that what we do? We're not getting our way. Next thing you know, you see people around you taking stuff out on you. You make a little 10-cent statement and you get a $10 reaction out of them, and you're going, oh, who are you mad at? I see it all the time. People are blaming and projecting on everybody else, and really ultimately their anger is really towards God. And that's what was going on here. So he didn't deal with it. This thing goes way bad, and now look at the stronghold. Look at the result. It ends up in murder. Now he's a convicted murderer. You got paper on him now. Okay? God says to him, where is Abel your brother? And he says, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Can you imagine talking to God that way? God didn't need to know where Abel was. He knew exactly where Abel was. He was dead as a doorknob. Sliced up, hid, buried, or something. He said, hey, where's your brother Abel? He wanted to see if Cain would come clean. They say, man, I blew my cool. I know you told me this thing was going to go way bad, and I know you confronted me. I didn't do it. I let my attitude get the best of me. I rose up in the heat of the moment, and I killed my brother. Take me to the city of refuge. Let me check in. Have mercy. Help me. Lord, he had a chance still. And still he responds back, well, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? The NLT says, am I supposed to keep track of him wherever he goes? Can you see the attitude here? So we're escalating here. This thing's getting way bad. And he asks him a third question. What have you done? So now he keeps confronting him. He escalates the confrontation. He's escalating the attitude, so God escalates the confrontation. He's not going to let him wiggle off the hook here. God's not codependent. He's going to get to the bottom of this. This is one of his sons. He's going to be a good father. He says, no, let's get to the bottom. Tell me exactly what you've done. I want details. He still gives him a chance. So evidently he doesn't ask for mercy, he doesn't ask for help, and so God now throws the book at him. The voice of your brother's blood is crying out from the ground. Now you are cursed He went from a chance to turn this thing around and get God's blessing, and now he's got God's curse on him. Where's he going to go now? Ain't no hiding now, is there? Cursed with the curse. From the ground, which has opened up its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand, now you cultivate the ground, it will no longer yield its strength to you. You will be a vagrant and a wanderer on the earth. Finally, Cain started piping up a little bit, and he said, my punishment is too great for me to bear. You have banished me from land and from your presence. You have made me a wandering fugitive. All who see me will kill me. But the Lord cried, they will not kill you, for I will give 7 times retribution or punishment on anyone who does. Then the Lord put a mark on Cain to warn anyone who might try to kill him. So Cain left the presence of the Lord. Now he's a fugitive on the run. I think the worst thing of all right here, if you see these consequences, how many know it wasn't the curse, it wasn't being declared a fugitive? What's going on here is it says he left the presence of the Lord. That means he made a decision to turn around from the narrow gate and go back to the wide gate and take his chances out in the world. Instead of, oh God, be merciful to me. Instead of humility and taking ownership, my bad, and just, man, he could have threw a temper tantrum in the other direction and just said, I'm not going anywhere till you forgive me and I want your blessing and do all that. But there was none of that. He just said, oh, it's just too much for me to bear. I don't know that I can do that. And God's still in his love and God's still in his kindness as being his brother's keeper. He said, look, okay, you're going to be a fugitive. This is what's going to happen. You're going to be cursed, but I'm still going to look after you. Matter of fact, I put this mark on your head. We don't know if it was a physical mark or a spiritual mark. It was probably more of some kind of barrier of angels or something that he put around him. So when anybody messed with him, he would, it would just, whatever. It was probably some kind of favor or blessing, or it might have been a physical mark. We don't know. So anyway, he goes off and does his thing. Now, what if God had not confronted him? Now it's on him. It's his problem now. This guy now is not only. So what if God had not started at the very beginning? And now we're looking at a serial killer, a mass murderer potentially. This thing could. If he's a murderer now, he's been declared. Now he's probably going to go out and murder other people. So now the whole kingdom or everybody that he touches potentially is going to be victim to this thing. But God tried. God tried to step in and God tried to be his brother's keeper. God tried to intervene. Now, the Lord is the type of brother's keeper here. He's the keeper. It's the person that, that cares about somebody, that tries to minister, that really genuinely tries to minister and help a person. Which is the type of us that God is calling us to be. Now, Cain is typical of the world. I'm not my brother's keeper. I'm too busy. I got way too many things going. It's not my job, not my day. I got bigger fish to fry, and it's selfish, self-centered, absorbed, self-preservation. Just a real stinking kind of attitude, narcissistic behavior. That's typical of the world. I'm too big. I don't want to get involved. It's none of my business. Let's leave everybody alone. And then Abel is typical of people, sheep out there in the body of Christ that are struggling, that are in denial. They've got problems. They've got issues, and they're just sheep without a shepherd. They're wandering around, and God has called us to be our brother's keeper, to go find out who those Abels are out there, not be like Cains, like the rest of the world. We're to be Christians. Onward Christian soldiers. We're supposed to be representatives of God. God's not going to just come down and minister. God, there's a song that says that, what does that song say? We are the body, and we're his hands, we're his feet, we're his eyes, we're his ears, and we're his mouthpiece. God's not going to just come. He needs brothers keepers, like for us to go down and care for the Abels. So the world typically says, no, I'm not my brother's keeper. But God's kingdom is different, and he says, I beg to differ. It's actually quite the opposite, is that if you're now a son of God or a Christian, now you are your brother's keeper. It is your day to watch them. Anytime and every time, anytime anybody needs you, you need to be willing to set aside time, do what you need to do to minister to a person, confront them, get into their stuff, do whatever you can. If we don't step in and help somebody and we see them walking out in front of a bus and they get killed by a bus, what does that say about us? If I see someone getting ready to walk off in quicksand, or if I see them getting ready to walk off to a plank and I see a stinking attitude on them or something that's going to take them to a place that's going to take them way, way bad, if I love and I care, wouldn't it be the right time to step in before it happens and be proactive and say, brother, can we talk? Can we have coffee and pray about it, get loved up, and go to them and say, I'm really concerned about your attitude, and I think you need to be careful, and I'm willing to do anything I can, but you're finna to go way, way bad. You're being a victim when you could be a victor. You're getting bitter when you could be getting better. You've got unforgiveness towards somebody. If you don't get your heart clean, man, I'm telling you, it's going to go way, way bad. You better take care of it. But if nobody cares and nobody steps in as my brother keeper, then how in the world am I going to really know if I'm too far into it? Galatians said, if your brother's caught in a trespass, you who are spiritual, go restore such a one. That means if your brother's caught in a trap, that means he's in a trap. He doesn't know how to get out, or he would have already been out of it. And he's going to get jumped on by the wolf because we got a sheep in a trap and the wolf's just getting ready to come down. And if you don't get down there and go after them and take them out of the trap and restore them and help them fix whatever they're going with, they're in a bad way. In the world, it says if you see a crime, you observe it and you watch it and you don't say anything, well, I didn't see nothing. And they find out later on that you did see it and that you do know details, you can be charged with an accessory of a crime, can't you? Aiding and abetting a criminal or something like that. Even though you didn't really do anything, they consider you just as much or guilty in some form because you concealed it and you hid it. We try to teach our men in the program this jailhouse mentality that don't be a rat. Don't throw your brother out there or whatever. I mean, we understand that, and you know, there's some value and wisdom in not just doing that. Especially if you, but first we need to go face to face, man to man, and talk to that person. Tell them, look, you're sinning. I know you're being deceitful. I know you've been watching pornography. I know you've been in a wrong relationship. I know you've been talking to people on the phone. I know you've been smoking a little crack. I know you've been dabbling and I want to give you a chance to confess it and come clean. The Bible says, he who hides his transgression will not prosper. But he who confesses it and comes clean, he'll find life and favor and forgiveness. So when you see a brother concealing his sin and you know about it and you don't do anything about it, you're just as guilty in God's eyes as the person is. Because you didn't step in and be your brother's keeper. Last Wednesday night I was sitting in my office and getting ready to teach, and I heard this commotion going on outside. I didn't pay no mind, then it started escalating. I said, what in the world? So I go to my little office on the side, and I'm looking out the window, and I see two little babies and a husband and wife going at it, arguing. And I'm like, that's not none of my business, Pastor. You just stay out of it. Every time you get involved, and I'm thinking about this message. That it comes to my mind. The Lord puts them up, and are you my brother's keeper or not? I said, well, let me just watch it a little longer here. Then she went to go push him. And I said, oh, Lord, I wish I had saw that, So I thought, well, she's pushing him, it ain't so bad. He probably deserves it. So I'm thinking at this point, I'll let it go. Then I see him, he has his hands in his pocket, so he's practicing his little thing, anger management. Count to 10. And then I see him go up to her, get in her face, and he gives her a full body, boom! Headbutt, everything, just boom! I mean, he didn't knock her down, make full, but I'm thinking, at least that's too far, that's too much. I said, I gotta. So anyway, I went out there and Next thing you know, mind your own business, mister. This is none of your business. I said, look, y'all need to just chill out right now. You need to go on down the road, let it go, and we're all fine. It's all right. Just de-escalate this thing. Let's just move on. You're in front of us. It's not your property. And he started talking smack, so I'm feeling that thing coming up in me now. Well, this is my property. And I said, well, I'm going to call the police. Well, you call the police. And I said, are you sure? I'm thinking to myself, do you really want me to call the police? Because if I call the police, you're going to jail because I saw you headbutt her, or your body butt or whatever. Best get on down the road. And he kept on talking smack, but they were walking, and as far as I know I de-escalated it for what I needed to at the time. But I had a choice to make. What if she got hurt or something had happened, and maybe just my intervention de-escalated, might have protected those two little kids. I don't know what it may have done. But anyway, I did what I needed to do, and I stepped in. I didn't like it. I had better things to do. It got me upset. Here, Lance has just got back from nothing. He's running over. 10 guys in the lodge are ready to come help me fight this guy. And made me feel kind of good. I started to say, don't make me call my boys. Don't make me jab slap you. Everybody will be kung fu fighting. Anyway, 1 Corinthians 12:25-27 says that there no be division in the body, but that the members should have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all the members suffer with it. If one member is honored, all the members will rejoice with it. Now we are Christ's body, individually members. We need to realize that we're all one team. And when someone on my team is struggling, there's hurting, I need to be my brother's keeper. I need to step in and help them. Because if they're suffering, I'm suffering. And if I'm suffering and struggling, then I'm hoping somebody will come in and check on me and say, how you doing? There's I don't know who exactly it is, but I prayed with the pastor at the pastor's prayer meeting last week, and he was talking about another pastor that's in the group, and of course I've been trying to figure it out ever since, but it was sad. He says, man, I think I might know who it is, but I was like, he said, this guy's a pastor, his wife's against him, she's not helping him, his whole church is turned against him, they're trying to fire him, trying to run him off, and he's in a bad way. I was trying to talk him off the ledge. He's talking suicide, saying if I had a gun, I'd kill myself. But this is a pastor. And if you're in the pastor's prayer meeting and you've been there any time, you've gotten a reputation, you've established that you're somebody. And here the devil's taking this guy out. And this other pastor was sitting there almost bursting out in tears. And I'm going, man, now that's... He said, brother, I'm so glad you're here today. Will you pray with me about this guy? And so he didn't tell me who he was, but he'd been all up in this guy's business trying to help him. So I don't know what to do. I'm out of options. I don't want to see him kill himself. He said, I think he's done some things that he's not coming. I think there's some of that going. I don't know whether to confront him. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, let's just pray and trust God and let God flush this thing up and pray for some divine appointment. And so this guy, because this pastor didn't trust no other pastors. He had nobody. His one wife. Kids. Everybody's turned against him. And if I think who it is, man, this guy is an amazing, amazing, amazing guy, and right now he's just in a bad way, and he needs somebody to jump in there. I wish I knew who it was, and I could maybe help out, but I'm praying and waiting. But I need you, and you need me. We need each other. We're part of the body of Christ, and when the body hurts, we hurts the team. When it hurts the team, it hurts the family. When it hurts the team, we don't score no touchdowns. Speaking the truth in love, we can speak the truth without love and hurt somebody, but we can love somebody to death without being truthful and hurt them just as bad. Matter of fact, you could be worse when you see them sinning or in a stinking attitude, and you go up and say, and you jump in with them and say, you're justified in your anger, hold on to that resentment, and and here you're instead of being a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. You're aiding and abetting, and God ain't proud of that. That's codependency, man. That's codependency. We love our children. We love our daughters and sons, but, there's tough love. I tell you what, my mom was not codependent. She didn't have one single bit of issue with that. She let me have it right between both eyes, both barrels, change the lock, put a note, don't call, don't write, don't send flowers until you've gone to rehab, and you're my son, I love you, but as far as right now, you're a heathen and tax collector. Don't bother. Little did I know, behind the scenes, she was crushed. Told me later, I used to drive by her house every day, wondering if you were still alive. Hardest thing I ever had to do. But I had to turn you over to God, and I stood on that and I trusted God, and look at you now. You know. But if she hadn't been tough, and she just said, okay, let me get you out of jail, let me pay you this, come move in with me, I'll take care of it, don't worry about that, and set about. I mean, what you're doing is you're supporting something God is trying to tear down. You're getting in God's way. You're interfering with God. Let God out. God's big enough to take care of these situations. Let them fall on their face. And I say that respectfully. I mean, there's always a chance, but for the most part, they'll wash back up on shore. Trust me. There'll be a big redfish, and they'll take another run, but eventually they're going to belly up. They'll come home. And I did, a year and a half later. Running out of time, real quick. Hotshot lawyer comes to Jesus and said, how do I get into heaven? He says, oh, you know the commandments, and love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. He says, well, for wanting to judge, so who is my neighbor? A neighbor is not the guy that lives across the street at 4235 Mount Sterling Avenue. It's those that are near you. It's the people at the gym. It's the people at the hospital. It's the people at the beauty parlor. It's the people at Walmart. It's the mailman. It's the people that God puts in your life. Those are the ones that you're commanded to be a brother's keeper to. So we got 3 questions that we always need to be asking ourselves. Am I my brother's keeper? Well, we just fixed that tonight, right? So no excuse. Number 2, where is Abel? Who is Abel? Abel's your brother. Abel is probably going to be your mother, those nearest to you, those directly across the street, those that you play cards with, those you work out with, those you are in groups with. Those are the Abels. Those are the ones closest. I don't need to worry about everybody. There's no way I can. Who are my Abels? It's the men in the lodge. It's my staff. It's the people that God puts into my life. And what have you done? Or better yet, what are you doing about it? So I'm my brother's keeper. Identify who my Abels are, and then am I getting off my high horse, and am I getting down, and am I being my brother's keeper and functioning and helping and doing what God's called me to do? Amen? Amen. All right, well, for those who would like to, guys in the program, it's do an insight on what you're learning about this, and also journal about who are your Abels and what is God is teaching you about being a brother's keeper. And next week's going to be another really cool one. It's called Covering Nakedness. It's about aiding and abetting and covering up people's nakedness, but in a healthy way. Amen? Amen? Amen. So, we'll see you.